Can I hand over to Keith to tell you all about the project?
Thank you, thanks for inviting me down, and good afternoon everybody. Just watching you all coming into the room underlined for me just how alike Scotland and Wales are, because you filled up from the back. Anybody who's been through the Scottish education system knows the safest place to be is at the back until you get caught by the teacher and you move to the front. But we've had a look at this projector before the session, and the smart money is these tables at the front are the best. It's going to be a lot more visible to you, but don't worry about that, because they've got some hands-on sessions when I finish speaking. Another disclaimer, I do work for the SSSC. At times you might think I'm a salesperson for Apple computers, but I'm not. But it's just, we're here demonstrating technology that just works. And what we all know about our sector is, you give somebody a keyboard and a mouse and they run to the hills. We're looking for technology that's easy to engage with and just works. So hopefully you'll see some of that this afternoon. First of all, I thought it would be useful to do some contextual stuff for you. And it's really about why are we interested in using mobile technologies to deliver learning and development. Across the UK, there's about 1.87 million staff work in social care or social services, however you define it. That means that given, we've got some figures for employers that give us a daily rate for training. We've worked out that we spend somewhere across the UK in the region of £3.9 billion a year on in-service training. That doesn't include formal qualifications. So that's your moving and handling, food hygiene, you know, all that kind of pot boiler stuff, all the stuff that everybody needs to do, all the kind of health and safety, all of that. We worked out that 10% of that was moved from training centre or classroom delivery to delivery in the workplace on a mobile device. What we'd find is that we'd find another £349 million that we could reinvest back in the sector, either in direct services to the public, or in reconfiguring services, or providing more training and development opportunities for staff. Now, by anybody's reckoning, that's a significant amount of money. And you can actually break these figures down country by country. When I do this presentation in Scotland, I use the Scottish figures, which are obviously very different, because we've got a workforce of 198,000, so you do the sums in a different way. But you can actually begin to identify real cost benefit. What's uniform across the UK is that the vast majority of employers are small to medium sized. In fact, many are what I would describe as a micro-employer, kind of less than 15 to 20 staff. And, you know, kind of the main feature of that is your manager or your organisation tends not to have an IT department, an HR department, or a training department. The manager is usually all three, but he or she can only add IT department if they've got the screwdriver and work that day. And that's the level that a lot of organisations are functioning on, where you just don't have the infrastructure. And that has implications about what you can then deliver to staff. In certain parts of the UK, and Scotland included, we have qualifications-based registration systems for the workforce. So that already sets a fairly heavy agenda for employers about getting folk qualified to the minimum required levels so that staff can register and stay registered. And we've got all of that against a backdrop of reducing financial resources. Everybody in this room is well aware of the squeeze on the public sector, on public sector spending. Your local authorities have got less money to put out, but they've also got less that they can use to contract in services. So it doesn't matter if you're in a local authority, a voluntary organisation, or a private sector service, everybody's feeling the squeeze. And the soft target is always learning and development. Because nobody's going to go to their local councillor, or MP, or in my case MSP, to complain that the social services staff in the area aren't getting enough training. Right? They're not going to do that, but they will if their mum's not getting the home help hours that she was. So we all know what the pressure points are. So learning and development tends to get squeezed. When I was a practitioner, we used to, other residential and daycare services had a relief pool that you could pull staff in to cover sickness, holidays, or when you release staff for training. What we're finding now is that these people no longer exist. It's not that we can't afford to pay them, it's that they're just not there. I was speaking to a senior manager for a local authority that will definitely remain nameless because this is going on the web, who was saying if a retail park opens in their area, they can't recruit a member of care staff for about 9 months. Whether we like it or not, when it comes to care staff, care worker level, we're competing with Tesco's and Sainsbury's. And I have to say their terms and conditions are fantastic. You go to Tesco's, if I work for Tesco's, not only do I get access to the Tesco University, all my family get access to all the learning and development opportunities that I get as an employee. I mean, that's huge. And the salary levels we're offering are on a par. So that's who we're competing with. And we're often not competing at all. So we really need to push ourselves more as a sector of choice, where you want the career as a choice, rather than casual staff. But all of that means that we've got increased difficulties releasing staff for learning. It's just getting harder and harder for folk to go away to study, or even do one-off courses. Now this is going to be virtually impossible for you to see at the back, I'm afraid. Really sorry about that. But we've got other reasons as well why we want to move to mobile, because this, which you can't see here, is a curve that describes what happens to memory over time. And it was first produced at the bleeding edge of the 19th century by a German psychologist called Hermann Ebbinghaus. So the Ebbinghaus curve. If you go on an event in a training centre or a classroom, you start off with you've got immediate recall of what you've heard. Within 2 days, you're down to something like 24%. By the end of the week, or the end of the month, you've forgotten 80% of everything you heard on the course. I've had that experience. I'm sure many of you have. I worked out, I have been sent on Excel training courses about 6 times, and every time I've done the Excel training, they've got me to the point where I can do macros. Right? And don't ask me what they are, because I couldn't tell you, because by the time I got back to my workplace, I couldn't tell you one end of a macro from another. But I could do it on the course. And that's not atypical. So if you think about it, a return on investment for bringing people into a central location to learn is in the region of 20%. And I've been a training officer, and I've been on both sides of the equation. And it used to make my heart sink when you got evaluations in, and you think, well, here we're going to hear what folk learn. The chairs were hard, and there wasn't enough cheese sandwiches. As a training officer, there's nothing kicks the stuffing out of you quicker than that. But the big thing here is about retention and learning, because it doesn't have to be like that. University of Waterloo, Ontario in Canada, much more recently, at the beginning of just after 2000, what I'm doing.